Welcome to Worthy Ones, the video series where I take all the newest issue ones that I read for the current comic book week and deem them worthy or not worthy. I'm Mike Spider Slayer. Welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. If you guys love daily comic book content, if you love me helping you make decisions on what comic books to buy, guys, you came to the right place, so please consider hitting that subscribe button. So before we dive into this week's video, I have to shout out to JW Storytelling, who sent me a copy of The Legend of Kyyden. Now, recently, this book was actually a Kickstarter, and it did get funded, and I read this comic book, and it was very enjoyable. This is a prologue to a story that's going to be coming very soon, and it's about a king who's running in his own castle, and it's being invaded by all these different troops and by this very dark figure. Kind of reminded me a little bit, I'm not gonna lie, of like a Darth Vader, but a medieval Darth Vader. And you get to see all kinds of like action and fighting and everything else that was going on in this comic. So you meet the king, you meet the queen, she's trying to protect their baby, and you get to meet this dark figure, and this poor guy's kingdom is crumbling apart because of this dark figure. This was a nice introduction issue, and I definitely will recommend this comic book to the readers out there. So if you're interested, I'm going to leave all the information in my description links below. Again, it's from JW Storytelling. Pretty awesome variant cover here as well, and then there was also a cool little poster attached to it. So again, guys, check it out. You won't be disappointed. Ghost Rider Wolverine Weapons of Vengeance Omega issue 1. Now, this is not a true number 1. This is a conclusion to a story, but I had to talk about it because technically it does have that number 1 on there, and I've just been preaching this story since it first came out. Now, there's only been an Alpha, a Wolverine issue, a Ghost Rider issue, and then this Omega issue. But I'm telling you guys, if you love Ghost Rider and you love Wolverine and you love scary looking comics, if you love Mephisto, if you love Wolverine, like, you're gonna love this comic book. There is so much action. It's so scary. The art is just dark and gritty, and it's just something that I think you would enjoy. Now, for whatever reason, if the other issues are still not on the rack, then I would suggest to wait on the trade on this one. But look at this stuff, guys. Come on, you cannot go wrong. You have to pick this book up. We wind up getting to see the conclusion of Ghost Rider and Wolverine trying to stop this supernatural identity. And what you find out is that Mephisto is actually behind the whole thing. Go figure, right? And I was surprised by that. And you just get really good character interactions. You get good fighting, good action. There's nice pace. This book is definitely worthy in my eyes. I'm not going to spend too much time on this book because you guys already know I've really enjoyed this one. So go out there, pick this one up. This overall story and issue was an A+. Skinwalkers, issue 1. This is written by Zach Thompson, and this book had me curious, right? It sounded a little bit creepy, and Boom has a pretty good track record for horror books, so I'm like, all right, let's pick this up. Now, the first time I looked at the artwork in this comic book was on my comic book haul. So I looked at it and I was like, oh, it's not very impressive to me. It just seemed like characters, you know, facial expressions weren't quite there. It wasn't very engaging artwork. I thought they were misproportionate at times, and it was just something that took me a little bit out of the story. But sometimes art isn't everything, right? Could be a solid story. So I'm like, okay, well, let's see what this book has to offer. So I'm reading this book, and you find out that this ranch is like, I don't know, it seems like it's kind of haunted, and there's UFOs above it, and there's all kinds of things going on. Like, you got mysterious, like, cows disappearing and groceries, you know, reappearing on the table after they're put away, and they have no idea what's going on. And it feels like it's meant to be scary, but it never feels scary, right? Then you got these skinwalkers that seem like a completely different thing that have been around in this town for like 15 generations. They're like these witches that like take people's forms and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't care about these guys. Like, there was nothing here that attached me to this comic book. The plot just seemed very slow. The characters didn't seem very interesting, where I like, oh, I like the dad or I like the mom. It just wasn't really good character development at all. Nothing there that I could get attached to. So sadly, this book is unworthy. Yeah, I hate saying that, but definitely was. And, you know, at the end of the day, if I had to give this one a grade, it's going to be a D- for me. I just wasn't very entertained with this at all. It was just very slow, very boring. I just found myself going, man, I don't want to read issue 2. Silver Surfer Rebirth Legacy Issue 1. This book is written by Ron Martz and the art is done by Ron Lim. The artwork is what you can expect when it comes to this comic book. It looks great. 2-page spreads are beautiful. Lots in vibrant colors that go into this book. Great explosions. The pacing was done really well in this comic. Love the characters' facial expressions in here. Just kind of brings you back to the 90s, man, when it came to that old Silver Surfer series. Now, this book is coming off the heels of that Warlock book, the same creative team. And here we have Genisville, which is Captain Marvel's son. And he's going out on an adventure with Silver Surfer, doing battle or stopping this war machine thing that's going to take out Earth. So they come out, they take out this thing, and the next thing you wind up finding out is Genisville wants to find out more about his father because he never knew about his son. So Silver Surfer sits there and goes, you know what? You know, we're the Infinity Watch. Gamora's got the Time Stone. Why don't we go check it out? And then we'll go back to the past and, you know, we won't actually talk to your dad, but we're going to actually, you know, we're going to see your dad. And he's like, I don't know about this, you know, messing with the time thing may not be the best thing. And at the end of the day, he winds up agreeing to it, and he sees his dad and stuff like that. And then, you know, this is a spoiler, but Silver Surfer wasn't really Silver Surfer. It was, once again, it was Mephisto in disguise trying to trap the son of Captain Marvel and obviously have possession of the Time Stone. And let's just say the real Silver Surfer winds up getting in some serious trouble for taking the Time Stone, even though he did it and it was Mephisto. This book is definitely worthy. This was such a fun book, seeing Mephisto come up and take that Time Stone and Silver Surfer being framed for the whole thing. I love the explosive artwork. This is just something that's not overly complex. It's a pretty simplistic comic book, but you have a lot of fun reading it. So I'm going to give this one an A. This was a great read. Really fast-paced comic. I was done with this one in 5 minutes, but you know what? I had a good time. Kill Your Darlings! Issue 1. That sounds pretty creepy, right? The variant cover that I have, which is this cover right here, is pretty creepy in itself. And I was like, man, what does this book have to offer? This one's written by Ethan S. Parker and Griffin Sheridan. The art is done by Robert Quinn. Let me tell you, the artwork in this book is actually really good. So we go back to facial expressions here, really impacting you as the reader. That's it right there. You feel the heartbreak of this child that's being burnt at the stake back in the early days of 1692. How does that transpire into the year of 1995? We quite don't know yet when you read this story, but the overall artwork in this book, again, is really good, and it's about this girl by the name of Rose who has a very active imagination. She lives with her mother, who is single, and she's having a tough time living on her own, paying for bills and whatnot. So what Rose does to pass the time is she's come up with her own kingdom, and she is the queen of this kingdom. You get to see the interactions between Rose and like her best friend as well at school. And I love how this comic book actually dives into like real world and then make believe, like how active an imagination can be for this young girl, right? I love that. I really enjoyed that. And so it kind of reminds you of like when you were a kid, like you playing with your toys or your action figures or your Barbie dolls or whatever it is that you played with, right? And so this book takes a very dark turn because when her mom is asleep, right? Obviously she's a smoker. You see like cigarettes burning in an ashtray. You wind up seeing Rose playing in her living room, and what happens is something dark happens. Something possesses her, and the next thing you wind up seeing is she wakes up on the outside of her house, and her house is burning down. And let's just say that her mom is inside of it, and she has no idea what happened. She's like, "What? Where's my mom?" And I was just like, oh man, that is some sad stuff. And you see all her neighbors outside her house going, you know, "Rose, what did you do? What happened? Did you set the house on fire?" And you're just like, you felt so bad for this little girl, but she has no idea what she went through. She went through this crazy episode, and you just saw everything that was happening in her mind. This book is worthy, definitely worth the pickup. You should check this one out. I am so curious where issue 2 is going to go and how the events of the 1600s connect to 1995. And I have a feeling that this girl is attached to it. This book is an A+, top-notch story. You have so many questions at the end of issue 1. Great artwork, premium comic book here, well made, and you know what? It's for the price of $3.99. Blue Beetle issue 1. Now this is being released after the movie, and fans of that movie might want to go to the comic shop and see if there's Blue Beetle comics. Well, you know what? You got a brand new series that has come out. So congratulations. Hopefully you will enjoy this comic book. So I give, you know, credit to DC for releasing a comic book around the release of a movie. Now, this book artwork is actually pretty good. It's very action heavy right from the start, and the colors are bright and vibrant. There's just a lot of fighting, like I said. There's some good character emotions in this comic book, and so it does a pretty good job at that. I wouldn't want to say that the art is perfect. There is some like weird instances or point of views on certain characters, especially this page right here when they're like on the beach. I don't know what we're going for here, maybe to fit all these characters on the page, but it just looks like their leg is very long and this guy's, you know, body is misproportioned. It's kind of weird. So it wasn't all perfect, but it was pretty good, right? The best is when they're in their battle suits and they're fighting and stuff. So this book for me though wasn't perfect, okay? Because I felt like this wasn't exactly a new reader-friendly comic book. It starts off that way, right? Because you get introduced to the original Blue Beetle and how the scarab got passed to Ted Kord, and then how Ted Kord gives it to Jaime Reyes and stuff like that. But then at that point, you have no idea really who these other characters are unless you read maybe a previous series, because little did I know, Blue Beetle has like young heroes that he's trying to train, and it looks like their name is Dynasties and Natidia. I don't even know how to pronounce it. It's like this green and yellow like Blue Beetle characters, and they're fighting against these bad guys, and they're very careless, and they almost hurt Ted Kord and stuff like that, right? I felt like this comic was like very disjointed in many ways as well, because first there's this action scene, then you wind up seeing Blue Beetle go to this bar, and then we wind up seeing that these people don't like superheroes because there's this alien ship that has landed in their town. And so being that this is, I felt like they kind of hit on the illegal immigrant thing a little bit in this comic book. Like that's what they were preaching at, going, oh, you don't belong here, so go back home. So, you know, they were touching on that a little bit here. And you had Jaime talk to these weird aliens that are stuck on this ship to tell them, you know what, they'll come around to you, go back to your ship. And then it goes to like Jaime's friends where they're on the beach having a good time, and she winds up getting this weird phone call. She's like, oh, I got a job, so I got to go back to work. And it just seemed like out of place in certain areas. And then it goes to Ted Kord where he's at his secret base here. And then the next thing you wind up seeing is that you get this weird, mysterious guy that's attacking him with this, you know, Beetle-like suit as well. And, you know, he's lying helpless on the ground and he's like, I'm here, you know, so he got his ass beat by this guy, right? Because he planned for all these contingencies that Ted Kord had, so it was an easy defeat. This book is going to be worthy of another pickup. This one I'm very on the fence about after reading it. It didn't knock my socks off. It didn't blow me out of the water. It seemed like it was an okay structured comic book, but the story thread seemed like there was too much stuff trying to go on to tackle all these different characters at once. But I might just give it an issue 2 to see the direction if it continues to get better or not. But if I had to grade this one, I'm just going to give it a very mediocre C. And we'll just see where it goes. No pun was intended there. I just had to do it. Fire and Ice issue 1. Now, I have no history with these characters. I know nothing about them. I never even looked at a comic book with them in it. The only thing I saw was some beautiful covers that were released during Tom King's run, and obviously the foil cover that came out for this. But since it was a new number 1, this would be a good jumping on point for me to learn about these two characters by the name of Fire and Ice, which is Beatrice and Tora. Okay, now, if you're looking for a serious comic book, this is not going to be the comic book for you, because right when you open it up, the art doesn't portray that whatsoever. This is a very like cartoon-like style of comic book. So when you get action in this comic, it's not very good, right? And I'll even show you more, because Superman makes his appearance in this comic, and you got stuff like this in here. So that's just the way it looks. So you're expecting you know, detailed art and great action scenes and battle scenes, you're gonna be disappointed. So with that being said, I was kind of hesitant when I started reading it, going, okay, what did I get myself into when it came to this book, right? So this book is written by Joanne Starr, and Natasha Bustos does the art. I'm sorry if I say your names wrong, but that's just, I can't pronounce names. So in this book, we find out that our two characters are moving to Smallville. I'm not exactly sure why they decided to go to Smallville. It has to do something with Superman or whatever the case may be. But the only place to rent in Smallville is this salon. And they have this little robot by the name of Elron. And he's the one that takes care of all their business for them. Ice is a very, what seems a free-spirited character, and Fire is, which is Beatrice, is the one that is very like hot-headed. She wants fighting, she wants action. She feels that living in Smallville is beneath her, that she needs to be fighting crime all the time and things like that. She didn't, you know, do all the things that she's done in the past to just go live here, to go work at a salon or live at a salon, okay? So that's her situation. That's what's going on in this comic book. It looks like they're going to use this salon as a space for business. So they hire a person, a stylist, and you know, there were some comical moments in this comic book, you know, when it came to her singing Eminem and stuff like that, and Laurent is like a vacuum cleaner. But overall, this book just did not have anything for me where I was like, man, this is great, or this is funny. This is basically a slice of life sitcom comic book. That's what this is when I was reading it, right? So what happens is Fire puts out this thing on social media saying, hey, we're back in business, baby. Come to freaking Smallville and we want the bad guys to come and we're going to take you down. So what happens is King Shark winds up coming and they start doing fighting, and Superman comes. And when Superman comes to try to save the day, Fire gets all pissed off and she starts fucking man-shaming basically Superman. She's like, how are we getting rescued by a man who wears red panties and stuff like that? We can take care of ourselves and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, come on, man. You're downgrading Superman here and thinking like he's a bad guy. He's really just looking out for you. He's trying to help you. I get that women can support themselves. They can, fight for themselves or whatever it is. But he's just looking out for you. That's all he's trying to do. And in this book, it was like a freaking soap opera. Fire and Ice go their separate ways. They're mad at each other. Oh, maybe we shouldn't live with each other. Blah, blah, blah. Again, it was just a freaking soap opera story. That's all it was. I didn't like it. I'm not going to continue it. I didn't like the art for it. I get what they're trying to do with it. Not my thing. If you love this, that is freaking fantastic. Just not my thing at all. For me, I'm going to give this book a D. This is something that I just was not expecting whatsoever. I am so curious what you guys think in the comment section below when it comes to this comic book. Did you like it? Did you hate it? I kind of feel like we might be on both sides of the fence here. You either really liked it or you really disliked it. So I am welcoming all those comments. Birds of Prey issue 1. Now, I'm not going to lie, I was a little hesitant about this comic book because Kelly Thompson's writing DC. I haven't seen her written any DC characters before or DC comic. But overall, I do enjoy Kelly Thompson's writing. Now, the artwork in this book is actually pretty cool. I do like the facial expressions in this comic book. There is great action scenes in here, especially like 2-page spreads like this. This really got me into the comic book when you have a lot of dialogue going on or a lot of explanation. It kind of breaks up that monotony there. Like you're looking for that action to happen. Now, this is a team book, and the way this team book was written was also written very well. This is a very new reader friendly book where I wish I would have seen that in Blue Beetle, because just like Avengers, when Jed MacKay wrote that new Avengers book, we wind up getting to see Black Canary form her team and her explanation on why she wants these certain characters. Now, the reason why she's forming the Birds of Prey is because she's trying to rescue her sister, Cynthia Lance, which is otherwise known as Sin. So you see her come across Cassandra. You wind up seeing the battle scenes with Big Barda in the comic book, and you get to see all their little explanations on who these characters are and whatnot. So I really love that, and here we get to see Zealot, and we get to see all her little cutscene. So what it does is it develops the character a little bit more. Now, the hardest challenge in this comic book was for Black Canary to actually get Harley Quinn in there, and I actually appreciated that whole thing. But overall, this comic book is worthy, and I cannot wait to see the direction that this comic goes in the future and how these characters all continue to interact with each other. Because what makes a great team book is, again, the interaction between the team members, right? So I'm looking forward to this one. I think at the end of the day, I'm going to wind up giving this book an A+. This was phenomenal. It exceeded my expectations, and there's a mystery character that shows up. You might know, or you might not. There you guys have it. There are the newest #1 comics I read for the week. I want to know in the comments below what you deem worthy or not worthy. And of course, guys, if you want to see all the comic books that I picked up this week, boom, there you go. There is my latest comic book haul. Stay tuned for Sunday for After the Poll, where I talk about the rest of the comic books for the week. And of course, guys, as always, keep buying, keep collecting, but remember to, yes, read those comic books. Guys, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.